Breaking news tonight on several fronts on the
unfortunate that
coronavirus
official
pandemic. The
stage
shockwave right now.
Two people involved. It is possible this is the anybody who has people employed.
I wrote a blog post a while ago about why I f***ing hate video games, because this is what it does. It appeals to like the male fantasy.
Have you ever bundled up in a warm blanket while a storm is raging outside? Have you ever stayed in a snow shelter during a snowstorm? Have you ever come home after a long and stressful day and sat down with some cider and a good game that eases you into a better place? In my experience, these are all kind of a similar sensation, and I feel many have felt it when Animal Crossing New Horizons released exactly 1 year ago. 2020 was a real rough year, and it started running. Fears of a coming war, a global pandemic, and one of the most embarrassing presidential elections of all time was happening in the US.
Would you shut up, man? Listen, who is on your list, Joe? Who's on your list?
Anyways, by March, things were already looking really rough for everyone. And by the time New Horizons graced the earth with its presence, my city was almost completely locked down, and I was out of work for a bit with nothing to do and things looking rather bleak. With the extra bit of money I had left over from tax returns, I found my way to a still open Best Buy to pick up a quick copy before I thought it would sell out. Yeah, it was a $60 early access game, but nobody at the time cared. The desire to escape outweighed the search for a complete game at launch, I guess. And to be fair, the game at launch was pre-packaged with a sufficient amount of content to hold most people who weren't time-skipping over until future updates. I decided about a month in that the best way to review this game, so to speak, was to wait a year of playing it before I said too much. There were several updates on the horizon, and it just didn't feel right to try to experience all of the game all at once. So anyways, what was it like to play Animal Crossing New Horizons for about a year? Well, if played without cheating, but also the most efficiently, the game's story finishes after about a week or so of daily play sessions, which is as follows. You're a villager who has signed up for a permanent island getaway where the twist is, you and the other villagers, just you really, must establish and settle the island over time, transforming it into your very own town, and eventually making it good enough for KK Slider to visit. Roll credits. But the real game starts after this, as you must continue to decorate, terraform, and establish the island as a town. It's an evolution of the previously established formula, and a step forward from the mayor premise of New Leaf, taking the concept of public works projects and just simplifying it by allowing furniture to be placed outside. This allows the possibilities to be endless, and one's island is the loom, and furniture, villagers, pathways, bridges, and buildings are the threads in which a user's interactive tapestry is woven. Even to the point of terraforming, which in of itself is a huge step forward for the series. I would typically call games in the series debt simulators, as that is the main driving force behind this game's gameplay. And can I just say for a moment that my guy Tom Nook kinda gets a bad rep. Like, yeah, he's a slimy moneylender and whatnot, and the furry mascot of Landlords Everywhere, but the dude has given you a home with 3 floors, several rooms, on a 0% interest loans with no deadlines or late fees. You could literally just not pay him anything. If anything, the man is a saint. Hashtag Tom Nook did nothing wrong. And also really bad at selling real estate in a profitable manner, but I digress. The game's main conflict is getting that money, or bells, these little coins right here. There are several ways to find said money: fishing, bug catching, shaking trees, growing money trees, building and selling furniture, and the list goes on. Other mechanics and features you'll be taking advantage of is talking to your neighbor, taking photos, buying clothes, and arranging furniture. Yeah, doesn't this game sound tedious as hell by now? That's because it kinda is. I mean, this doesn't have to be a bad thing, and it really isn't. There's something oddly relaxing about doing busy work in this game. It may be the presentation, the character designs, the music, or the simplicity of doing actions. It really is weird how simplistic this game actually is. The fishing is literally just waiting until your controller goes burr and mashing the A button. So no special skills, no RPG elements, no Swedish songwriters, no features, just 100% pure uncut fishing. Bug catching requires a bit more timing and finesse, and fossil digging, my favorite, is basically hide and seek. Other things like decorating don't have some weird timing mechanic or minigames / QTEs that make you have to skillfully fight the game to do. It's as easy as it should be, and it almost turns the game into an interior decorator simulator. There's no dialogue trees or social cues you have to follow when talking to and meeting the villagers. Just be there and give them stuff and talk to them when you can, and they'll be happy. For a game so simple, why is it so compelling? Let's compare this to a couple other similar games. Farmville and Harvest Moon. Farmville was simple. You click the screen, you get crops. Harvest Moon, by contrast, was a lot more involved and is basically the opposite side of the same coin, requiring you to micromanage and walk around to do everything. You had to memorize schedules and create fruitful relationships with your neighboring farmers and your townsfolk. Farmville was addictive busy work for many, but I'd never call it compelling design-wise. While Harvest Moon and its spiritual successor Stardew Valley are both extremely compelling and challenging as busy work RPGs of sorts. How does Animal Crossing relate? Well, Animal Crossing is somehow as simple to play as Farmville in many respects, and as compelling to play as Harvest Moon in many respects. Like I said before, I don't really understand why this is. I know it's my job making this video to understand this phenomenon, but I just can't put it into words. It just is. It's the perfect mix of presentation, gameplay, and player freedom that makes this sort of thing work. The game is also on a real-world clock, making this feel like a living, breathing world in your Switch that's existing concurrently with ours. This leads to a few interesting things. First, often I feel bad for missing a day in the game. Not only is missing a day of the store's randomized daily furniture a huge roadblock in my road to completion, along with missing out on fossils that are found every day, I feel weird about leaving my villagers hanging. I mean, I know they're ones and zeros, or to get even more basic, electrical signals in the CPU and GPU of the console, but Nintendo has written a lot of these villagers to come to life with their own personalities and interests, making them interesting to encounter and interact with. The game makes sure to let you know if you've been gone, adding to this weird feeling of these bits of data being something more. Even then, if you stop talking to a villager for a while but talk to everyone else, they take notice. This was present in the design of older games, yes, but the catch here is the game doesn't punish you by having a favorite villager get depressed and jump town just because he got really busy with finals and couldn't play all month. Instead, a timer seems to go off and the villager talks to you contemplating moving as if they're bored with the same old, and you can just simply encourage them to stay, to which they express how happy they are you like them enough to say, "Nah, don't move, the housing market's not good right now." This makes me conclude that this game is noticeably nicer than previous entries. In New Leaf, Rossetti was pretty much removed from the game since children were scared of this angry mole yelling at them, but there was still an option to bring him back through public works projects. In this, he is gone completely, and nothing more than an Easter egg in the game's island rating system where Isabelle quotes the accolades of various villagers. This is also due to the game having an autosave feature, which adds to the fact that this game is real nice to the player. In the first Animal Crossing, characters would get needlessly angry at you and had some hilariously jerkish AI and characterization. In this, everyone's nice to you. Depending on what you're looking for, that's a good change or a bad change. For me, I see it as this. I can always play the older games and get all the meaner stuff back, and I can always play New Horizons. They're allowed to be different games, and I'm okay with that. Along with this living, breathing world is seasonal events, which are some real good fun. Collecting stuff, building furniture, and decorating the island for the event is the name of the game, and it makes seeing news of a game update all the more exciting. You get to meet new and interesting characters, get event-exclusive stuff, and so on. It makes the collector and me just love it all. One of the most interesting aspects of the game is the new crafting system. Ah yes, finally, a reason to chop down trees and collect beehives, fruit, and flowers. You can make quite a bit of money through this mechanic, or you can just save money by not having to purchase furniture or tools. This adds a bit more to the game that makes it just that more fun to mess around with. This game has some pretty decent multiplayer. If the system for going to other islands wasn't so clunky, I would even say it's perfect. But I'm sure that's mostly the fault of Nintendo Switch Online social features still being clunky compared to contemporaries like Steam or Xbox Live. But still, this simple game has, you guessed it, extremely simple multiplayer. The bane of my existence.
Our band is called Joy-Con Drift.
It almost just becomes a virtual chat room where you get to design the space and give gifts to each other. No competitions, no mini-games, just people living in the moment. And honestly, during a global pandemic and living in a society drifting further and further apart from human connection, that feels like it's a needed and welcome addition. I have a lot of friends that live quite far away from me, so it's nice to be able to welcome them to my other home where we can run around and enjoy the sights. It will never beat actually going and visiting a friend, but when that's not entirely possible, New Horizons got your back. Animal Crossing New Horizons is like a warm blanket on a cold winter night, cup of hot chocolate in a blizzard. It's just nice. It's warm, it's certainly cozy, and that's kind of the appeal. That's why people play it. While most games are about skill, strategy, and tension, Animal Crossing breaks the mold by being about relaxation, comfort, and trying to give you a smile during a dark time. And I guess that's what makes Animal Crossing New Horizons so special. Okay, I see how it is. Try turning away from this.